G'day guys, John Walter here from Racing Watch. It's that time of year again, Melbourne Cup preview time. This is my super short, quick, no detail preview. The detail preview you can find on my YouTube channel. You can find it probably on Twitter as well pretty easily. That one, I go through every run. I detailed lead up races, that kind of stuff. This, I'm trying to just jet through it, give you my thoughts. I think that's what most people want. So hopefully I can help you with your selections this year. I think this year it's a different dynamic to most. So I honed in on the Caulfield Cup. I think that's the best lead-up race. I think the best lead-up runs are really slowly run race, and there have been a mixture of fast and slow run races, which I think has messed with a lot of people's data and analytics this year, and maybe the prices are a little bit funky because of that. The internationals, there's only 4 of them. I think there's only 2 key internationals, and I'll talk about them too very briefly. But as I said, I think honing in on that Caulfield Cup is the best way to go for me this year. I think the best runs were Montefilia, Douay, Smoke and Romans, and Knight's Order from a forgive perspective, and also stretching out to 3,200 metre perspective. I think they're the horses I like the most, and I think the market's kind of got them wrong to a certain degree. I think Smoke and Romans, $19 as value, Knight's Order, $23 as value, $31 now. Douay and Blowing seems to be is certainly a big price for mine. And whilst Montefilia is into $11, I do think it's the horse to beat in the race. So I think it's fair enough. I just don't really want to charge into it as heavily. I think the others are probably a touch better value, but I thought they're all good runs considering the slow tempo. So for me, that looks like the best lead up. The internationals we'll touch on really quickly. So I think the 2 that are best suited here are Without a Fight, and certainly Deauville Legend. Without a Fight, I've got the queries. Not so much the distance for this horse, but it's won 7 races. I think 5 of those were 3, 6, 4, 4, and 5 with the field sizes. So really small fields. It's not going to know what hit it from gate 18 in a 24-horse field here. The 2 times it won a 10-horse fields were both novices, so really low-grade races like maidens in Australia. So for it to come out here, travel, have to jump from gate 18 in a 24-horse field and overcome the pressure and everything that's involved with that is not going to be easy. I do think its form certainly warrants, a lot of respect, and that's why I'm going to suggest a bit of a weird idea when it comes to sort of hedging on these horses, but we'll get to that in a minute. Deauville Legend, very similar, I think. Only a lightly raced horse, was a maiden in April this year. It's been up since then. Its form's very solid, but what do you do with that form? How do you sort of stack it all up? It has got form around Who You Mal, which is the other horse we'll talk about in a second, but I'm sort of trying to risk it. I'm just saying this horse is quite short. It's very well placed for, how people look at the Melbourne Cup this year, a horse that's sort of lightly raced on the way up, classy sort of stayer. It's got all those sorts of attributes, no doubt. It does hang a little bit. It also carries the blindfold, which is a problem for me. So a horse that could get stirred up coming to Flemington in front of the crazy crowd we'll probably see there on Tuesday, hopefully, as long as that weather holds up. And 24-horse field, again, getting around behind the gates, putting the blindfold on it. How stirred up is this horse going to be? I love what he looks like as a physical specimen, this horse. He does have a few tricks in races where he sort of over races and things like that, and that's why probably small fields suit him to a certain degree. He can get away with a bit. He's drawn perfectly. I love that they've put Kerrin McAvoy on. I love that they've kept the local jockey on this horse. But as I said, $3.80 is very aggressive. Do I think he's the horse to beat if he brings that form from the UK to Australia? Without doubt, he's the horse to beat on class. But in saying that, as we said, 7 starts, 3 wins, and this is the first time it's ever raced in a Group 1, and now has to travel halfway around the world and do it here. So for me, I think he's one that, again, I'm going to suggest a way to play this race. He's included in it, but I'm going to I don't want to back him at $3.80. There's no way in the world. Taking on Kimura, probably going to throw it in exotics only, 3rd and 4th. That's one of the other Raiders, and the other horse, Who You Mal, I'm taking on completely. Just feel that he looks a horse that looks a bit juvenile in his appearance, and I think travelling around the world off a failure, 51 days since that run, is a big ask for any horse, and a horse that's just not quite there physically, not developed completely, is very difficult to overcome. So I'm taking on Who You Mal. I'm going to leave it out of everything pretty much. So just wrapping up, I do think that the Caulfield Cup form is the strongest form. I'm going to make sure that Smoke and Romans, Dewey, and Knight's Order all go around a winner. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, backing multiple horses in a race, but that's how I like to approach things. And when they're, $19, $23, and $31, you can certainly afford to spread your money around a little bit. I would save or make Montefilia a small winner as well. I think they're the four that you have to be on side with. For people playing exotics, I think Realm of Flowers is quite well set up for this race. And it will run the distance, but just quite short in betting. So $13, I probably would have it a little bit north of that, around the $20 mark, before I'd want to back it. I think Stockman's got a really good setup, a really strong setup. Joe Pride's done an enormous job with this horse, as he does with all of his horses. A really great fitness base. Just basically had a run around on Saturday in a nice race in Sydney that looks like it's peaked it for this race. Perfect draw for it to sort of settle midfield and run a positive race. Another each way chance, absolutely, but probably just, third and fourth in exotics is where I'll place him. And I think the two best roughies in the race for people who like roughies are Interpretation and Dakin Sweet Jr. I know that's not how you say it, but at least you'll be able to find it. Both of them, I think, need 3,200 strong run races. Probably dry track the better for Junior, for Dakin Sweet Jr. And Interpretation, I don't think it really matters. I think it's just a slogfest will suit it. But $61 and $81, please include it in all your trifectas and first fours. I think they can both run well at odds. That's about it. But as I was saying, I think from a betting perspective, I'll put a sheet up just to show you what I believe is the best way to go from a betting perspective. If you're outlaying $100 or $200, or it doesn't matter, you can water that down to 5, 10, 20. But this is how I'd approach it if you're outlaying a certain amount on a race. And I think the best way to approach the two international horses this year is to stand them out in a trifecta, and then a couple of horses that I've talked about in as well behind it as sort of the play, because I don't think they're justified in backing them straight out, but I think you can get some value out of them if you sort of stand them out in a trifecta potentially. But certainly taking on Dover Legend and Without a Fight's probably the best play for me this year, because I just think that they're both have a bit to come, from a physical perspective, and I think that's enough to sort of take them on here. Good luck, guys, if you're playing. Cheering for Smoke and Romans, Dewey, and Knight's Order personally, and I hope you have some luck on the day. It's always a tough day, Melbourne Cup day, but remember it's a marathon, not a sprint. So just make sure you sort of chip away throughout the day and don't try and blast early. It's always a difficult day to get through alive, and that's probably the goal for most people. Good luck, guys.